This is Climate Focus. You're watching Climate Focus. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are bringing you this interview from the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you. And with me today,
my name is Ahmed Amdihun, currently a program coordinator for disaster risk management program of IGAD here at ICPAC, Nairobi. If we just say a few words about ICPAC, this is a specialized institution of IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. It's also a designated regional climate center of WMO, the World Meteorological Organization.
Mm-hmm. So today we'd like to speak briefly about this situation room, what it means for disaster risk reduction across the continent, across the region, and also in partnership with other institutions for the larger African region. So first of all, let's sort of create a case. How have disasters impacted the continent in the past?
Yes, if you look at Africa in general, for example, in a very conservative estimates, at least around 2,000 disasters or natural hazards has affected Africa, costing nearly 40 billion USD. This is in a very conservative estimates. That doesn't include, of course, the COVID-19 cases, for example, which has a devastating socioeconomic impact to Africa and African livelihoods particularly. So generally, Africa is one of the most affected continents in the world, not because of so many disasters in the continent compared to Asia, but there is high vulnerability with low coping capacity of our communities that makes them more vulnerable to the disasters. That's why you have high numbers. Whenever a disaster happens, you see millions of people affected in the continent.
If we can be able to alert the decision makers in good time that this kind of a disaster, this kind of a hazard is going to happen within this estimated number of days, then perhaps we can do better. But we have had early warning systems before. How different is this? How does this change the game?
Exactly. Particularly now, this is a constellation of continental and regional situation rooms. We have one in African Union Commission, one here at IGAD, the first actually for regional economic communities. If you see, it's really groundbreaking in a sense that having a dedicated center for monitoring hazards and issuing early warnings is, I can say, the first of its kind, at least to IGAD. So in that sense, I think it's groundbreaking. When it comes to maybe calling it a game changer, it really depends on what we are doing in the coming years. If you see, for example, the general global targets of the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, we aim to reduce the number of people who are dying due to disasters. We also have committed to significantly reduce the number of people who have been affected by disasters. In that sense, I think such dedicated centers will have a significant role and will change the game also. As we know, one of the known ways of reducing a risk is to early warn communities. You are forewarned means you are forearmed. So you can prepare, communities can prepare and take necessary actions in time. In that sense, we can say it's a game changer, yeah.
So I'd like to know now, looking at the different countries, in your membership, they already have some form of early warning systems. How does this build that or complement what is already existing at the national level?
Yes, thank you very much. IGAD with 8 member states, you can say few of them have really an early warning system, to say so. Even with a strict definition of an early warning system with 4 elements of risk knowledge, an effective forecasting, monitoring, and early warning in place, as well as effective communication and dissemination, and finally response capacity. With these 4 elements of early warnings, you can hardly say that we have a very, well-functioning early warnings in the member states and the region. So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to create an end-to-end early warning system for the region, which we have already planned also to do the same in the countries. In the coming years, you will see IGAD supporting member states to have such situation rooms so that they have a dedicated room for monitoring hazards and issuing early warnings to the national, subnational, and local levels. That is their mandate. But for the regional bodies like IGAD, we'll be issuing regional early warnings, which is directly linked to the national focal institutions. Yeah.
So let's talk about how you share information. You collected it, processed it, you have information that's ready for your partners. How is this shared, and to who specifically is it shared?
Thank you very much. I think information sharing particularly is a sensitive topic. We are cognizant of our mandate as a regional entity, but also the mandate of the member states. IGAD as a regional entity do not have a mandate to issue early warnings at a national level. So for that reason, we do a regional monitoring and forecasting of major hazards. We issue early warnings to the focal institutions of member states. Then they pick up that information, compare it with the one they have, and disseminate it in their subnational and local constituencies. That's how the information is disseminated. In terms of source of data, I think what you see, our systems, quite a number of data are going into there, and I can say there are two categories. One is basically based on Earth observation products from satellite imageries, satellite products, for example, the biomass index, the soil moisture index, even the rainfall estimates are also primarily satellite based. The others are also ICPAC as a regional institution. We collect information also from our member states on, for example, rainfall. Every 10 days, member states do provide data for ICPAC on rainfalls. So that is blended with satellites to provide a better resolution products at the regional level. Yeah, so that's the information flow between regional and national institutions, also from national and regional institutions. So that's a two-way communication and information sharing.
Yeah. It's amazing how we're trying to use tons and tons of information to be able to get accurate information, which then you share with your partners or member states. But this can only be as good as the impact that it creates. That does this information get to the people at the local level? Is action taken in a good time to ensure that they are safe from the hazard that we are talking about? So how are you addressing that challenge?
Thanks so much. I think that is a very important and standing challenge for IGAD. For example, if you look at, I would like to explain maybe this by example. If you look at the current droughts, a devastating drought for Eastern Africa, early warnings were issued in August 2020. Then every 3 months, we have been renewing call for action. But this necessarily didn't translate into action in a way that we didn't say, for example, over 1.5 million livestock deaths, quite significant impact on social economy, displaced people due to the drought although it's internal, most of it is internal, displaced people and so on. So those all impacts could have been averted if we could have acted early. Towards that, what we are trying to do at the moment as IGAD is we recently have developed a regional roadmap for anticipatory actions that basically looks at how our early warning informations can trigger early action. I think once we roll out that regional roadmap and we'll be able to implement at the regional and national level, I'm very confident that we'll turn the current situations for good. Because what really lacks at the region is more investment before you see loss. Like before you see animal deaths, can governments and partners invest? That's basically a call of that roadmap and a call of anticipatory actions. So I believe we are in the right track, but more need to be done for early warnings to be translated into early actions, primarily by national governments, but also humanitarian actors.
What happens here, what kind of information you're monitoring, and how it goes all the way to the point where now you're disseminating it to the people who are supposed to receive it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. If you look at this product, it's called the East African Drought Watch. Mm-hmm. What goes into this are at least 3 elements. The first one is the rainfall anomaly, the change in rainfall compared to the long-term average. Then you have the biomass anomaly, the biomass change or the vegetation anomaly, which is also telling you availability of pasture, the condition of crops and so on. And the third one is soil moisture. So if you look at the soil moisture combined with biomass and combined with rainfall, this is what you get as a combined drought index. For example, this one is for the 3rd decade of January, almost end of January this year, which is 2 weeks ago. So this is the general picture of the region in terms of the drought situation, the drought severity situation. As you can see, parts of Kenya, Somalia, and parts of Ethiopia are the worst.
So I can
affected
see some
regions.
red. Does that mean those are it's worst in those?
Exactly.
Does that show the intensity of it?
Exactly. Red basically means an alert, which shows vegetation stress as well as the rainfall stress conditions, which means basically there is availability of water and pasture is highly stressed. Yeah. Yeah. So this is basically what we have. By the way, this system is developed in-house at ICPAC. So we're also very happy to show it, and most people are using it in the region. We have visitors this morning. They're very excited to see it here, what they use in their office. So this is part of the bigger Eastern Africa hazard watch. So this is the drought watch. We have a flood watch, we have a desert locust watch, and so on. So quite a number of products are there.
Mm-hmm. And does this also give us the period within which we can expect this to continue?
Exactly. Now, this is a monitoring product, but maybe the next advanced stage is now the forecast products. Can we forecast rainfall? Yes. Can we forecast biomass? Yes, also, with some regression equations. Can we forecast also soil moisture? Yes, that's also possible. So that's the next phase or the next step of this application we have here at ICPAC.
This is impressive. This is impressive. Thank you. So this is all the way in Uganda, in South Sudan, exactly. And I can see part of it also in Sudan. Also, exactly. Yeah. It's not as bad in Eritrea.
Yes, but still, if you see here, maybe these are areas which can be affected by even a little reduction in rainfall because they get very scanty rainfall. If that one is not coming, then our camels and shots, the goats and sheep would be dying. Yeah.
So the yellow is what you're talking about, that now we need to activate action there.
Exactly. The yellow to red is basically calling for action immediately. Okay. Yeah, particularly the national governments and humanitarian actors has to take note of these colors and put in place early action activities or list of early action interventions.
So from the look of things, you can see that Somalia and Ethiopia are the worst affected, of course, with some parts of Kenya and Uganda.
Yes, but we have to read it very carefully. This is only for the last 10 days of January, which means that this part of Kenya, particularly around you see Garissa, Mandera, and others have been affected in the past few weeks, and even 3 consecutive failure of seasons actually, leading to a humanitarian emergencies in these 3 countries: parts of Kenya, particularly this area, parts of Ethiopia, and parts of Somalia.
So, yeah. From this, what are you telling the national actors?
Yes, right now the condition is this. Particularly, let's say 1 week ago or so,
this is the picture.
This is the picture exactly, with parts of Somalia still persisting drought conditions, parts of Ethiopia persisting conditions, also parts of Kenya and Uganda border around Karamajong. You can see also persisting below normal conditions, calling for an alert or a warning. Yeah.
And with the passionate side of science, we end this bit of Climate Focus today. Thank you for watching. See you next week.